Bob and Eliza Pancakes. If I asked you to name some iconic households from The Sims 4, I'm pretty sure the Pancake household would be right at the top of your list. Whether that's because of their silly name, their drama, or the fact that we only have 8 families in The Sims 4 base game, of which only 5 are original. Compared to previous Sims games, that's actually kind of wild. We used to get entire towns of new people and stories. We know by now that The Sims loves adding in references to previous installations of the franchise every time a new game is brought out, and many families make repeat appearances and expand on the already existing lore alongside the new stories. So given that we haven't actually seen the Pancakes in any of the previous Sims games, Bob and Eliza are kind of like the cornerstones of The Sims 4 at this point. You could even say that they are the main Sims 4 family, because I'm pretty sure most players regard the Pancakes as a new household. But what if I told you that might not be true? Bob and Eliza live in the base game of Willow Creek, and the premise of this couple is that they have a very strained marriage due to them being polar opposites. They're constantly arguing, they have conflicting traits. Bob is a lazy, gloomy slob and enjoys being alone, whereas Eliza is neat, materialistic, and a perfectionist. They seem to sleep in separate bedrooms, which shows just how bad of a stage their relationship is at. They are staples in The Sims 4, and they were among the first townies to appear in any promotional content for the game before release. They even got their own trailer called Stay Weirder, showing how different the two are, and especially how boring Bob is, calling him the least interesting sim in the world, referring to his routine and drab way of living. In this trailer, Bob is shown to us as this kind of unlucky, lazy, kind of relatable character who's struggling to be functional, and his only comfort is eating pancakes in all of this. But when I watch this trailer, I see a bit of a miserable character who is obviously hard to live with. Although Eliza has pretty high standards, being a neat perfectionist, which probably makes her unbearable to live with in her own ways. Bob does seem like this gloomy deadbeat person. Normally I'd feel sorry for him because he's clearly struggling, but in the lore we don't really have any indicator that he's gone through anything tough to make him like that. It just seems like that's how he is. This couple are the perfectly imperfect Sims household by design. By that I mean the most iconic Sims families have always been these broken, dysfunctional households that make them interesting to play or interact with. The Landgrabs are rich and corrupt, the Pleasants have a cheating drama, the Altos were ruthless and evil, so this is usually the mark of a well-designed family, and it's nice to see a good example of this in The Sims 4, only they're not really from The Sims 4. Whilst researching for some content a few months ago, I came across the Newbie family from The Sims 1, made up of Betty and Bob Newbie. Apart from Bob's name, they don't really bear any resemblance to the Pancakes on the surface, and then I realised Betty and Eliza both come from shortened versions of Elizabeth. So I looked into their household on the Sims wiki, and I found a few more interesting pieces of information that kind of confirm this. The Newbie household first appears in The Sims 1, and they basically serve as a tutorial family when you load into the game. Bob's personality is on the sloppy side, and Betty is more neat, but nothing extreme here suggesting that they would be complete opposites. Betty is presented as the stereotypical 1950s housewife living in a very suburban style home, whereas Bob wears greasy looking clothes and doesn't really take proper care of his physical appearance. We find them again in The Sims 2 now, where they have passed away and appear as ghosts, but they have had a daughter called Brandy Broke, who is a very iconic character who deserves her own video. If you do revive them, they do seem to have a pretty different appearance than their Sims 1 counterparts. And in The Sims 2 for console, we get a completely different Newbie household. Bob is now black, and Betty also looks unrecognisable. She looks a bit chavvy if I'm honest. And The Sims 2 Pets puts another spin on the whole thing, because Bob is pretty much exactly the same as the Sims 2 console Bob, but Betty appears as a very clean and traditional looking sim, which is much more like her Sims 1 version. Her bio says, Betty Newbie launched her international career in helpology after publishing the popular self-help book Unleash the Gender-Neutral Metaphor Within, but she recently moved to town to help people on a smaller scale. She certainly doesn't miss the hustle and bustle of the big city. Rather, she finds the pace of this town perfect for her brand of instructional tutelage. Betty is very clearly before her time advocating for gender-neutral metaphors in 2006, and good for her. She seems to have really found success. Meanwhile, Bob is doing his own thing. His bio says, Bob Newbie was an odd child who insisted on speaking in only short step-by-step sentences. Kind of like me recording this video, to be honest. He transformed this quirk into a job skill when he lent his talents to the company Map This. Famous for helpful retorts like turn left and watch out for that moose, he soon became a legend in both mapping and verbal instruction. I found this pretty funny. He's implied to be a bit slow, which does match up with the Bob that we recognise from all the other versions. Coming over to The Sims 3, which I've said before takes place before any of the other installations of the game chronologically, we see Betty in The Sims 3 store as a teen, still living with her parents before she got married to Bob, so she still has her maiden name of Simovich. She's a high school student, and her bio says, Betty Simovich knows her mother sees her as a second chance to reach the stardom that she left behind. She's into music, but she's just not sure she wants to make it into a career the same way her mother dreams about. Bob is also in The Sims 3 store and is in high school, but now he's white again and blonde. Like the Sims team, what was going on with Bobby and Betty? Seriously, are you guys okay? His bio says, Bob Newbie loves to lie around and read. He's a good kid, but he can't seem to clean up his room. He doesn't know what he wants to do with his life. So he does bear resemblance to Bob in terms of personality. That's one thing that's always been really solid with Bob. But as for Betty, it's pretty all over the place. Her personality's been very different across different versions. The pair did also appear in the Sims 1 console. Bob looks exactly the same as the OG Sims 1 Bob. He's bald with a beard. He didn't have a bio, but Betty did, and it describes her as a very tough and fit sim who doesn't take any crap, so pretty much completely different to all of our other versions yet again. So obviously we have the pancakes in The Sims 4, but we do actually have a Bob and Betty official creation on the gallery by Maxis themselves, the developers of the game. Betty is definitely based on the Sims 1 console version that we just mentioned. She's active, pretty tough and unflirty, and her physical appearance is exactly the same. But she also has the musical ambition that Betty had in The Sims 3 as a teenager. Bob looks like his Sims 1 version, and as per usual, he has his same lazy personality and another callback to one of his previous versions with the bookworm trait. If you managed to follow all of that, congratulations, because it's for sure quite confusing. I think it's got to be the most chaotic lore just because it's so inconsistent. So are the pancakes based off of this household? You could argue that they just have similar names and traits by accident and that there's too many inconsistencies, but I definitely think they were at least heavily based on the Newbies, if not the same family. Apart from his appearance, Bob has been consistent throughout time. He's always been lazy and a bit of a slob, and Eliza might have changed a little bit more, but she's represented as this perfectionist, neat, stay-at-home woman more than once. So I really can't think that it's a total accident. I think their name was changed to Pancake instead of Newbie just to show that they aren't exactly the same, and it's a reference to how basic Bob is, that he finds pleasures in the very, very simple things. There is a theory that the ambition Betty had in previous installments was always canon, and the fact that Eliza doesn't have it anymore is a result of her unhappy marriage to Bob, which makes a lot of sense in my opinion. This also checks out when you have a look at the yearbook used in the Sims 4 high school years promotional material, where we can see that she had a lot of ambition and Bob is already a little bit lost and he's still a slob. So this actually confirms that Eliza isn't the reason that Bob is so miserable. Most of the hate I see for Eliza uses that as the reasoning behind it, so there we go, it's settled. Bob has always been boring and deadbeat. Although that doesn't mean he's a terrible sim, and it also doesn't mean that Eliza isn't a total pain in the butt, but in any case, I definitely don't think either of them should have gotten into a relationship, considering just how different they are. There's also a part in The Sims 3 that I think back to when it said that Eliza's ambition seems to stem from her mother, and Eliza doesn't really know what to do with her life, so maybe they ended up together just as a kind of result of Eliza not really knowing what she wants. Maybe it was comforting for her to get with Bob. I don't really know, let me know what you think. It's also theorised that Bob is based on another sim from The Sims 3 called Bo Andrews, who is also a slob and is married to someone very, very opposite to him and shares a similar skin colour, but I actually don't think that is enough to say that they're the same. To me, Bo looks very different physically to Bob. In the Sims 4 gallery, we got an updated version of the pancakes with a new infant son called Iggy, made before the Dream Home Decorator game pack was released. The premise of this change was that they needed an interior decorator to redesign a space to accommodate the new arrival in their household. Again, they're shown to really not like each other, even though their new bio says, "Is that a silver dollar pancake?" Nope, it's just the newest little addition to Bob and Eliza's pancake stack. If anyone gets that silver dollar thing, I don't really know what that means. Maybe it's because I'm English, I don't know. Meet their son Iggy, a charming toddler who's bringing a small measure of harmony to the pancakes household. I don't really think Bob and Eliza having a baby is a good idea at all, given that they had such bad marital issues. I'm a strong believer of not bringing a child into a broken home as a remedy. So I do just want to address that this isn't my first video on the pancakes. I think the first ever video I did on my channel was about the pancakes. I actually ended up giving them a makeover. It was kind of like this alternate hippie version of Bob and Eliza, but that was its own thing, and I kind of want to do another version of them that I will put in my save file that's a little bit more lore friendly, just so we've got a more canonical version of them. So coming into Create a Sim quickly, we're just going to take a look at how I've changed them. So obviously this is the original Bob, and that's original Eliza. There's just something about this couple that I didn't like physically. They're too primary colours and basic looking. So this is my new and improved Bob. His face is a little different. I gave him more tired, lazy eyes to kind of fit his personality. I feel like original Bob was kind of way too awake looking, if you know what I mean. Like, he's a very lazy, boring sim, and I don't know, if you're generally lazy and boring, you don't really have eyes that look like you're terrified all the time. I just think his face kind of reflects his personality a bit more now. As for his general style, I gave him quite a laid back, unremarkable sort of vibe. Obviously, he has these funny pants. I just thought that'd be a funny touch. Like, his party outfit is exactly the same as his everyday outfit, just because I figured he wouldn't make much of an effort. Swimwear. And for his hot weather outfit, I gave him this very like barbecue dad kind of vibe. He loves his food, and I figured he would probably wear something with some food on it like that, like a little grilled cheese. And again, a pretty standard cold weather outfit. So as you can probably see, there's 3 little dots here, which means I've cheated extra traits onto Bob as per usual. If you're not new to my channel, you'll know that I do this for every single sim. I give them tons and tons of traits. So he is a slob, a loner, gloomy, clumsy, glutton, and lazy. And as you can see, I have updated all of his likes and dislikes and turn-ons and turn-offs. Now, obviously, the Love Struck expansion pack dropped a few weeks ago now. I actually have a review of it on my channel if you're interested in knowing my opinion about it. So for turn-ons, I gave him ambitionless and messy Sims. And turn-offs, clean, optimistic, hardworking, argumentative, and cerebral. Basically, Eliza. Coming over to Eliza now, I'm actually really pleased with how she turned out, like in her face. She's definitely the same core Eliza that we all know and love, or maybe hate. But she's definitely leveled up a little bit. I feel like the previous Eliza was just a little bit stuck in 2014. So she's obviously a very neat sim, and I gave her quite a neat appearance. Elevated glasses. I think these are custom content, and so is the hair. I did give her some lashes as well. Obviously not any of the lashes that we got in the recent update or in Love Struck. I feel like they're just pretty hideous. I think these ones are the only usable ones, but even then, I much just prefer using custom content at this point. Overall, she's quite polished. She doesn't really dress that extravagantly, but she's always kind of got the notes of green in her outfits. She can be a little bit more put together if she wants to go to a party, for example. But other than that, it's kind of like chic office core. So Eliza obviously is neat, materialistic, and a perfectionist, and I went ahead and added high maintenance as well. I think her lifetime aspiration is the same. She wants to become a mansion baron, so it's a very materialistic goal to have in life. And for the turn-ons and turn-offs, I definitely expanded on the whole fact that Eliza and Bob are completely opposite. So her turn-ons are affection, physical intimacy, woohoo, gift giving, obviously because she's a materialistic sim. Not that I think you have to be materialistic to enjoy a gift, but it definitely goes together if you are materialistic. Career-minded, health and sports, wealthy, interpersonal, academic, culinary, cerebral, hardworking, and ambitious. Now, the only thing in there that Bob kind of shares is the culinary thing, because he is working in the culinary career, and I'll get into why that's a common ground for them a little bit later. And turn-offs are broke, ambitionless, messy, and pessimistic, which I think are 4 words that literally describe Bob. So coming over to their relationships, I added in the fact that they have a distant relationship, which comes from growing together. That pertains more to like the friendliness between them both. And then here we have romance dynamics, so you've got a choice between steamy, strained, unpredictable, and wholesome. Obviously, I went with strained for these two. Now, I'm curious to see when we load into the game, is this actually going to consider that they're both incompatible based on their turn-ons and turn-offs? Let's have a look. Okay, so that's good. It seems that they've got an awful compatibility together. Based on their likes and dislikes, these sims have awful social compatibility. To grow this relationship, both sims will need to put in extra effort than usual as they seek to overcome their many differences. So as you can see here in Eliza's tab, it says she's a food critic. Now, I just thought this would be a perfect kind of plot twist. Bob works as a caterer in the culinary career, and Eliza is a food critic, so she is literally a critical figure for Bob in more than one way. I think in the base game she's unemployed, which I didn't think made much sense. I know that she's a materialistic sim, and I don't think she would be so strongly money inclined if she was having to rely on Bob on a really low paying job. I just feel like she would want to go out there, especially the fact that she's a perfectionist. I feel like that would probably motivate her to go get a job herself. Maybe it's something that they just forgot to add when they were making the base game. Who knows at this point? So as per usual, as you can see, I've gone in and filled in a bunch of extra skills for both Bob and Eliza based on their personalities and their careers. Eliza's over here sleeping in her bed in her own bedroom, so let's get her up. So as for the extra traits for Eliza, I've given her things like antiseptic, because she's such a neat perfectionist sim. I feel like she wouldn't really allow herself to get grungy that often. Critically connected, which is obviously to do with her job, and chopstick savvy. She has good manners and good emotional control, but she is insensitive. She's also independent, responsible, observant, and valedictorian. I thought that she probably would be if she's a perfectionist. perfectionist. So as you can see, coming over to Bob, he's in a very grungy looking outfit, and this is actually a career outfit that I've given him, a custom one. So if you activate cheats with testing cheats space on, and if you put in this cheat code, you can manually edit the career outfit of the sim that you have selected at the time. And Bob being a slob and working in the culinary career, I thought he would probably come home with like splurges of food all over him, so I went ahead and did that. So apart from all the traits that I mentioned in Create a Sim, he also has bad manners. He is a spice hound. He doesn't mind a little bit of spice. Laid back, melt master, irresponsible, essence of flavor, high school dropout. And also you might see here it says employees and vendor. This is actually from a mod that allows certain townies to generate as a specific role in the world. So if they have this tag, that means he might show up at a food store or something trying to sell food, and I thought that would be really nice to see. So as for this build, it was perfect for the pancakes. I did find it on the gallery, but I don't know the name of the person. I'm gonna have to try and find it off camera. So it's a pretty nice basic house, really. There's nothing too extravagant about it. There's a nice little living area over here, quite a big kitchen, kind of like a laundry slash hobby room. They do have a pool as well, which Bob really enjoys to lounge in. Coming upstairs, now obviously Bob and Eliza canonically have two separate bedrooms, as I mentioned earlier. I actually did these myself. I think originally these were just like an adult and a child bedroom. So yeah, I feel like this aesthetic is very Bob. It's quite plain, it's quite, you know, basic. Same for Eliza, but in a different way. There's a little touch of colour here. She obviously likes her orange and green. She's got like little furniture accents with those colours. And this was a big room over here. I didn't really know what to do with it, so I kind of just had it as an abandoned storage room. Obviously, if you want to bring back Iggy that I mentioned earlier, their toddler that's been added on the gallery version, you can do that and make his little room over here. And there's a little closet over here just in case Bob and Eliza do end up making up and want to make out a bit. And they have a shared bathroom over here. So obviously, Love Struck lends itself very, very well to this couple because there's things like marriage counselling they can go to. They can go on a romantic repair date, which is if your Sims have a little bit of a difficult dynamic, they can try and salvage it a little bit by going on a date. Before I get into that side of the gameplay though, I do just want to mention the Woohoo Wellness mod, which makes it possible for your Sims to have a few more interactions regarding relationships and like separation. So it makes it possible for your Sims to temporarily separate and ask a bunch of questions to kind of impact their relationship. Now, if you ask me, I feel like this should have been included in Love Struck. The Sims team certainly took inspiration from other things like Wicked Whims or Wonderful Whims for their content in Love Struck, and I feel like Woohoo Wellness would have been a really, really good inspiration too. So currently they're on a temporary separation, and if they get back together or not depends on the interactions that you use during that time. So for example, we have interactions like apologize for past mistakes, ask to go stay somewhere else, attempt a peaceful discussion about issues, a bunch of like really, really cool gameplay impacting topics. I definitely recommend this mod if you're interested in this kind of gameplay. I will link it in the description down below for you guys. We're going to have Eliza come over here and wonder what went wrong. No need to ponder about what pulled us apart. It's done and hardly could be undone. Oh my God. I also got another notification from that. Eliza has just learned more about Bob and is now very unattracted to him. So they've got a lot going on in their relationship panel. It's very awkward. They're distant, separated, awful compatibility, strained. She perceives him as attractive, but on a physical level. Romantic feelings, so this is what came with Love Struck. She is very unattracted to him. So regarding what we got with Love Struck, we did get this little tab over here for relationship, and we have a bunch of different things. So ask about romantic interests, ask about woohoo interests, which were already there. We also have asked to work on romance dynamic, so I want to see what happens if we click this. Bob wasn't open to working on the romance dynamic with Eliza. She will have to try again after some time has passed and both Sims are ready to talk, both in a good mood and in a positive conversation. I really want to send them to relationship counselling just to see what happens. So it's called Cupid's Counselling. They've got the funds to do it, so let's go. Let's start with you, Eliza. Close your eyes, look within. What feelings are you sensing in your body today? She's feeling confident currently, so we're not going to lie. We're going to say confident. I'm glad you're voicing your feelings. You are being your own true self. You are so much better than my last client. Can you believe it? He thought he was an actual bear. If you saw my Love Struck video, you know what that's talking about. How about you, Bob? How are you feeling today? I'm happy and I know it. I can't complain. I think he is happy. I think that looks like a green thing down there, so we'll put I'm happy. That's nice that you are in a good mood. Feeling good is great. Now what we must do, Bob, is look ahead. Goals. Goals, Bob. When you set your goals, make sure they are direct, understandable, mature, and big. DUMB. If you follow my 4-step goal structure to success and keep giving me money, there's no way you can fail. Oh my god, it's like being on Instagram. Let's get to the root of some issues. What are you having trouble with in your relationship? Girl, what are we not having trouble with? There's no thing to select all of this, so I'm gonna have to make a choice. I think attraction is the least of their issues right now. I'd just say romantic relationship. Maybe that means more like if they're open to like having a third partner or not, which isn't really their case. I would say romantic satisfaction, but I did look in the panel and it said that that's okay for now. And I think that concerns more like if your Sims break each other's boundaries in terms of like what cheating is. So I put romance dynamics. Do you not like how the romance dynamic is playing out? We can work with that. I'm tired of the dynamic of our relationship. I want to do something meaningful and Eliza is holding me back. So we can either vent to each other or ask for advice. I think ask for advice means to the therapist. I'm not really sure. We'll go vent to each other. It's a little bit more problematic. You are both yelling at each other and not making a lot of sense. Remember, we need to treat each other with respect. That is very true. Well, this therapy appointment didn't go exactly as I would have hoped. You two need serious work and I would like you to continue seeing me once a week for a while. I bet you would. We can say we will or not on your life quack. I think they should. I definitely think they should. Good. I am booked up pretty heavy for this week, but just keep checking back with my receptionist and they will let you know when I can pencil you in. Okay. So I think that means that there's probably a cap on how many Cupid's counselling appointments we can make. Yeah, so it says the therapist does not have any openings at the moment. Check back next week. I wonder if it's actually a whole week that goes by. That would be pretty cool if it is like sticking to that. So I've just opened Eliza's panel over here and as you can see, there's somebody here with a little bit of a romance meter. This is Dean Williams. Now he's a character that I completely made up myself that I put in here as their neighbour just to spice things up a little bit. So Dean pretty much represents everything that Bob isn't, and I thought it would be quite funny to have him look quite physically like Bob, but he is very fit, he's a police officer, and he has a lot more ambition than Bob. I'm not actually going to make her cheat on Bob or anything, I will just put him there and it can be up to you what you want to do with that whole storyline, but I thought it needed some sort of extra bit of lore just put in there. So I'm going to have Eliza visit him really quick just to show you what he's like. So Dean has a little converted garage over here where he works out. So he can usually be found over here on his treadmill. So for now, Eliza is pretty much just very friendly with him. They have a lot in common. As you can see, they have good compatibility. I think she's asked him a few flirty questions, but she's never actually gone ahead and cheated just because I didn't want to make that canon. But it just gives the whole thing a little bit of extra spice. Just looking at them physically, like they both just look so opposite to each other in every single way. So I think I'm going to have Eliza attempt to try and save this relationship a little bit. So hold on. So I'm just trying to get them to go on a romantic repair date, but I can't find the option to do it anywhere. I thought it was in romance or something like affection. These are all things that you can do if you've got a higher romantic skill, but I can't even see it grayed out anywhere, so I'm not sure what that's all about. I really can't find it anywhere, you know. So if I go onto this panel here and ask another sim, I can actually ask to create date, but it doesn't seem to be giving me that option when I click on Bob, weirdly enough. Let me try on the panel as well. It says ask to create hangout here. I can't. That's really weird. I might be really dense right now. I just feel like I can't see it anywhere. Would you say Bob and Eliza have a difficult family dynamic? Yes, I thought they already did. Yeah, I would have liked to give the romantic repair date a go, but I really, for the life of me, can't find it anywhere. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say maybe it's where my mods are incompatible with it. I haven't updated all of my mods yet because it was definitely there when I did my Love Struck review. But yeah, there we go guys. That is my version of the Pancake family. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you do want to play with this version of the Pancakes, and also if I should put Dean, their neighbour, on the gallery for you to play with and maybe make Eliza cheat with if you want that. But in my opinion, they're already on the brink of divorce and there's not really much you can do, so I will leave them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe with a few more Cupid's counselling sessions they can fix it. If you want to see more progress of this save file, you can actually find me on Twitch, YouTube and TikTok where I stream. I'll kind of be showing you guys what I do between the bigger households that I make videos on, like the community lots, the NPCs, things like that. And also I'm going to be playing a lot of different games on my Twitch channel. I'll put the links for all of those in the description, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye guys!